Hello YouTube, this is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today the video is going to be just kind of showing you guys just some of the stuff that I use around here to make the sculptures. Just some of the like some of the welders, some of the other stuff that I use. Nothing overly expensive, you know, just not basic stuff. Well, some of this stuff is pretty basic, but some of the welders are not. Well, I guess when I say basic, the price point is not that low, but they're not that high, because I don't really need the most expensive stuff to do what I do, but I don't want to have, you know, just junk. I can't use junk. So well, to get started, oftentimes you guys will hear me say that when I'm working with stainless steel and I'm going like over the welds on the stainless steel, I'll use a machine to passivate. Well, this is the machine. It's just an inexpensive machine that I get off of Amazon. I think when I purchased it about 3 years ago now, it was like $150. It has a wand on it. You just put a felt tip on this, dip this into electrolytes, and just glide it along the weld seam, and you'll hear it cleaning. You can see it cleaning. You see a lot of impurities coming out of the weld using this machine, and this is the ground for it. And like I say, you just use a felt tip, a white, looks almost like cotton, that you just put out here, put out a rubber band or something on there to hold it on there, dip it into the electrolyte solution, and just wipe it on over the welds. And any like dark marks, like your haze areas from your weld, this will take all of that off, and you'll just have this shiny stainless steel. So this is whenever you hear me say machine, I'm using the machine. This is what I'm talking about. So I use this to get the dark marks, to get the like, you know, the haze marks. I'll go over the weld just to clean the weld with the electrolytes, and then I'll take the other chemical, the passivation chemical, on a paintbrush and just brush it on the rest of the sculpture, all the stainless steel. Let it sit for, you know, 15-20 minutes, just depending on how hot the weather is. If the wind is blowing, so I won't be able to leave it on as long. But if the wind is blowing or if it's really hot, I'll just take the garden hose and just put a little mist of water on that passivation chemical, just to allow it to stay moist, so I can keep it on the piece longer. Because if you let it sit there and dry, it will etch into the stainless steel, and it's almost impossible to get that etching out of it unless you take a grinder or something and grind it out, and now you're just starting all over again. So again, when you hear me say machine, I'm talking about this machine for now. I might go ahead and get a different one whenever this one breaks. Hopefully it doesn't break, doesn't look like it's going to break. But I mean, I've seen these things for, you know, $1,600, $2,000, $10,000. It just depends. But I don't know if they do any better job than this one, because after we use this machine on our welds, I have never seen one of our welds rust. So I don't know if paying $10,000 as opposed to $150 is that much of a difference, but I haven't seen it yet. So that's the machine. This is it's just it has sandpaper on it, and I use this when I want to get down into deep areas after I weld. If I can't get my grinder in there to smooth the weld, I'll take this with some sandpaper on it, turn it on, stick it down in there, and it'll get down into like tight areas. I'll grind the weld, smooth it down, just make it look nice, and then I'll use machine or whatever on it. But this is another tool that I use like for where I have to reach into a deep recessed area. I use this guy. I got this from Harbor Freight. They used to sell a much cheaper one. I think it's probably Chicago tools or something like that, Pittsburgh tools or whatever. But they came out with this one, and it's a Bauer, a lot heavier duty than that other cheap thing that they were selling. I've had no problems with it. When the sandpaper is, when it's rolling, it doesn't, sway to the left or to the right. It stays right in position. So I don't have any issues with the sandpaper trying to jump off as it's turning. So this is just a Bauer sanding machine, if you will. And then this guy, this is it's a Bauer surfacing or surface conditioning tool. So what I do with this is, if I have like core 10 or mild steel and I want to get the mill scale off, that black mill scale, I'll take and use this. This is probably a 36 to 40 grit drum on here, and I'll just use this on that piece of metal to get that mill scale off. So I'll use one drum disc for mild steel, core 10 steel, but like this disc I have set on here for stainless steel. So oftentimes when you get stainless steel, it'll have like a frost kind of a finish on top of it, and you have to get through that frost to get to the shine. So I'll take this guy, lay it on there, and just go back and forth on that stainless steel until I get down to the shiny portion of the stainless steel. And again, this is they call it a surface conditioning tool, but it's also can be called a polishing tool that doesn't rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. It just rotates, in a like a drum position, forward and back. So what I want to do, guys, I want to let you get a close-up look at the drums that come on here. So this drum is the same that's on the surfacing conditioner now. It's 40 grit, and like I said, I use this to take mill scale off. Then I use the same one to take that gray frost off of the stainless, and if there are light scratches on the stainless, I'll use this one. Like I say, it's a 40 grit to take light scratches off and that kind of thing. Put like a brush finish on the stainless steel. And if you want to leave the brush finish on there on the stainless, you just use this 40 grit drum pad. But if you want to polish it more, you would go from this 40 grit to this 120, and the 120 would knock the 40 grit, marks and whatnot out. And then if you want to polish it more to a shine, you go from the 120 to the 240, and that's going to give you a really good shine, on your stainless steel pieces. But now the key to using these two discs is that you have to, when you buy your stainless steel, you have to be sure that you don't have any deep scratches in that stainless steel, because if you have deep scratches, it's going to take a lot of work to get those scratches out. And by using this might not be, most likely won't be enough. You'll have to use an angle grinder with a flap disc on it, and oftentimes when you use something like that, those the grinding marks get so deep that it's almost impossible to get those out. So if you plan on using something like this, and you want your stainless, polished, and you don't want to have grinding marks on it. You got to make sure when you go to your metal store that you look on all sides of your stainless to be sure there are not a lot of gouges and whatnot. And then when you get it to your shop, you got to make sure there's no rough edges on your table or whatever you're using it, because that will put cuts and nicks and stuff in the stainless, and it'll be almost impossible to use one of these to polish that stuff out, because really, once they're there, they're there. I mean, you can try and hide them, but certain angles of light will hit it, and people will be able to see it. So, just little tips on that. Okay, guys. So next in line is the welders that I use most often, and the one that my TIG welder that I use most often is it's the WeldPro. It's 200 TIG HCDC 200 GD. A lot of controls on it, a lot of set points, post flow, pre-flow, upslope, downslope. You have your peak on time, your base amps, your AC balance, AC frequency. You have a pulse frequency. You have start amps, peak amps, end amps. There's just a lot of adjustability on this welder. And the reason I got this TIG welder is I had I still have the Lincoln Tig 200. The Lincoln Tig 200 is absolutely terrible when it comes to your ability to be able to set it how you want to set it. It doesn't have pre-flow, post-flow. It doesn't have much of anything on it. And I was just going through, just tons of argon trying to use that darn thing. And so that's how I ended up buying this one from my weld suppliers. And they sell more of these than they do Lincoln, Miller, ESOP, or any other welder that they have in store and stock. They sell more of these than any of them. And so that's my TIG welder. It's a TIG welder and a stick welder. It comes with a CK Worldwide flexible head on it. It comes with a finger control where I don't have to use a pedal. I use this finger control a lot when I'm tacking up, because I'm moving around the piece and I don't want to have to keep dragging my pedal around. So I'll just disconnect the pedal, plug the finger control in, set my upslope, downslope, and just use the finger control. Now the upslope is when I hit this button, the welder goes from 0 and it'll slowly ramp up to the amps that I have set at. If I have it set at 90 amps, for example, I'll hit this, and if I have my my upslope set to 1 second, it will take approximately 1 second for this to go from 0 amps up to the 90 amps. And then on my downslope, when I release this trigger, that downslope, if I have it set at 1 second or 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, it's going to take that long to go from 90 amps down to 0. Because when you come off your weld pedal or your weld trigger, you don't want to go from 90 to 0 right away, because you'll leave craters. You want to slowly back off of that heat, going back down, to 0 amps. So that's what your upslope, downslope is used for. But when I use my pedal, I turn upslope, downslope off completely, because I don't need it, because I control that voltage up, voltage down with the foot pedal. All right, guys. So next on the list is my trusty WeldPro MIG 210 LCD. It welds nicely. I have not had any problem with it. I've had it for about probably 3.5 years now. I have not had any problem with it. I got it from, again, my weld suppliers. They sell, again, more of these than they do Lincoln, Miller, Aesop, any of the other brands they have over there. They sell more of these than they do of any of those. And they very rarely have any issues with these at all. MIG, it came with a TIG water. It came with a TIG. It just doesn't have a pedal. It comes with a scratch start. So MIG, TIG, stick, and I also got a aluminum spool gun with it. My man over at the store he literally almost gave me the spool gun, because I do so much business with them. Really nice spool gun. It's good to have a spool gun when you have a machine, powerful enough to weld, thicker aluminum. So I mean, just a really good thing to have, on hand. If you guys can get a spool gun, I recommend you get it, because trying to TIG weld aluminum, if you don't know what you're doing, the thicker stuff it can be kind of difficult until you get the hang of it. But it's a lot easier to just use your aluminum spool gun to get the job done. You'll get more spatter, but just plan for that, and just use your spool gun. I mean, you really can't go wrong. So again, this is my WeldPro TIG AC/DC 200, and this is my MIG 210 LCD by WeldPro. All right, guys. So next in line, I have the Lincoln 140 HD. I think this one, it was made for Home Depot, so it doesn't have all the adjustments that the ones you can get from like a weld supply store. It doesn't have that many adjustments on this knob. But on this knob, it's basically the same. This one is a step, but on the ones that you pay, $700-800 for, it doesn't have the steps to it. So it's more controllable than this one. But I have not had any issues controlling the weld with this one at all. The story behind this one is when I was working on my the '65 Mustang, I needed a welder, so I went online and saw this guy selling this welder for, I think it was $300. I couldn't believe it. But so I went to his house. He lives about an hour from here. Drove to his house. He said it was brand new. So I drove to his house. It was somewhere close to Heartland, about an hour from here. Walked in. He was sitting at the table, had his dog in there and whatnot. I told him I was there for the welder. He went down in the basement, got this thing, brought it up, brand new, still in the box, all the papers, everything. And at that time, this welder was selling for close to $600. So I asked him, why is he selling it so cheap? And he said they went to some auction and they had, pallets of these welders that they were, selling at auction prices. They didn't have serial numbers on them for whatever reason, but they were, brand new, and he showed me all the receipts, so everything was legal. But at this auction, they were just auctioning them off, at very low prices. So if he sold it to me for $300, I'm sure he got it for like probably $150 for these things. He had quite a few of them. I've had this welder, since it's been a while. Probably early 2000s, I think it was, when I got this one. And it still works, just like the day I got it. But it's a 140, so just wasn't strong enough or powerful enough to weld the thicker stuff that I weld now. So I primarily use this welder, to tack when I'm doing stainless steel, or because I primarily use stainless steel wire in this one, so I don't have to keep changing out my big welder. Because for the most part, I TIG weld my stainless steel, but I'll use this welder to tack it on the inside while I'm setting the piece up. But again, I haven't had any issues with it at all. Now this welder, this is my Lincoln Tig 200. I mean, it welds really, really nice, but it just doesn't have enough control on it. I mean, I can sit there and weld this thing for hours and hours and hours. I mean, it's just so quiet. But I just couldn't control my pre and post flow. I couldn't control, other things with it. It doesn't have a finger control, that kind of thing. And it seemed like I was going to my weld supply about every day and a half to get a large bottle of argon. Because, making these sculptures, you use quite a bit of argon making the sculptures. But when you come off the pedal, you expect your gas flow to stop at some point soon. Like on my new TIG welder, I have it set at, I think it's 1.5 seconds when I come off that pedal, the gas will stop. With this one, it could be 13, 14, 15, 16 seconds, depending on how much, what my amperage was. So I said, no, that's just too much. And I think I paid, when this came out, it was around $1,300. And I think now, before they changed it over, it was like $2,500. They just came up with a new model of this. I think it's a TIG 205 or something like that. It can't be much different than this. But I mean, this, like I said, this works perfectly. But it's just I couldn't control the argon flow, so I just went ahead and bought the other one. So those are my 4 welders. I have a stick welder in the basement. So this will do TIG and stick. It has, pulse, AC, DC, which is nice. Both of my welders, my TIG welders, AC, DC. So it can do a lot of stuff, but just I can't control the pre and post flow on it, so I had to get a different welder. So that's that. All right, so next we have my trusty plasma cutter. This is the Everlast, the 50S plasma cutter. It's probably 5 years, maybe 6 years old now. I've had an issue with it one time shortly after I got it, but I think that was my fault. I don't think it was the machine's fault. I think that one of the electrodes had welded itself to the escape port on the torch, and I didn't realize what had happened. So I sent the thing back in to the person, the store that I bought it from, and after 2 or 3 weeks they sent it back. I don't think they have to do anything but put a new tip on. But again, I just wasn't thinking at that time. I was, rushing and doing all this kind of stuff. So I really, thank God, haven't had any issues with it. I took the torch off today because where the rubber meets the housing that goes here, it just had kind of split a little bit. So I just took it off, made a repair to it with some epoxy, just to hold it in place. I mean, the torch works perfectly. It's just I can see it was getting a little bit of stress in this section here where it hangs down. So I just went ahead and just made the repair today. It has the work clamp on it, cord, and it will cut through, I've gone through, I think about an inch steel. I've gone through it with this, like a severed cut. But I primarily use it 3/8, half inch, 11 gauge, stuff like that. It doesn't have any issues, cutting through that thickness of material. Whether it's stainless steel, mild steel, core 10, aluminum, I don't go as thick. A little bit thinner with aluminum, because aluminum is just a crazy metal. I'm not sure what the heck that mess is. Well, I know what it is, but it's just crazy, using it and trying to deal with it. But this is my plasma cutter. I also use a oxyacetylene torch setup that's off camera. It's by Harris, which is basically Lincoln. So I use that. In the corner, the yellow thing right here, you see that's the English wheel. I use that quite a bit when I'm making like flags, and when I'm bending, metal, I'll use the English wheel. I don't have a slip roll. I was going to buy one, but I really don't need it because I have that English wheel. So I have the English wheel. I have a planishing hammer. I have a shrinker stretcher, which I don't use the shrinker stretcher and planishing hammer that much anymore because my metal is much thicker. I used to use, like 16 gauge, 18 gauge. I used to use that a lot when I was making, the smaller pieces, the flowers and some of the other stuff. But now I'm using like the 14, 12, 11, 10, 8, 7 gauge. I really don't use those things as much. But now that my son is getting involved, he'll be using that stuff more than I would. So I won't get rid of it. So, but my English wheel, I use that quite often. And if you can see, I have this new compressor. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna keep. It's a 33 gallon, 175 PSI, and I have that going to another 30 gallon tank in the corner, auxiliary tank in the corner. So it fills up here, goes to the auxiliary tank, and then out to my either plasma cutter or whatever tool I'm using. It comes from the auxiliary tank. The other compressor that I had to repair that thing probably every couple months. Either a piston would go bad, the piston ring would go bad, or something would always go bad. And then the tank itself was filling up with rust and all that stuff, because I bought that thing used back in probably 2008 or 9. I bought it used. It lasted all of these years, but I was just having to, of course I was having to drain it, but the piston, like I said, the piston would go bad, the reeds would go bad, something was constantly going bad. So I'm constantly, thank God for Amazon, having most of this stuff for pretty cheap. And then a place called Repair Clinic, which is only about 20 minutes from here. I can go there and get parts for it, but I was constantly having to fix it. And it would get louder and louder and louder. And it was taking longer to fill the tanks. And so about 3 weeks ago now, I came out one morning, turned it on, want to let it fill up so I can start making the pieces that I'm sending to Florida. Went to the house. Next thing I know, just loud. The connecting rod had broke, and pieces were flying everywhere. I mean, the fan, you had metal flying everywhere. So I just ran out here and just hit the power, shut it off, looked at it to see if I could repair it. But the top of the motor block that holds the piston and the reed and all that housing, that thing had just snapped off. So I said, okay, that's it. Because I was getting a little bit concerned anyway about the tank. it was old, water, had rust in it, so I was concerned about that thing exploding. So when it happened, I was prepared for it, and I really was ready to get rid of it anyway. So this was just kind of an emergency to go out and get this, to get those the flags and the leaf done, so we can get rid of send it to Florida. I'm kind of still thinking about getting a Quincy, a 60-gallon, probably 60-gallon, 5 horsepower Quincy, maybe. I'm just kind of thinking it through. Or I might just keep this one. I just got to give it a little bit more time to see if it's going to do what I want to do. Because the next compressor I get, I want to be able to do some sandblasting on some of the metal. So I may have to even go to 80-gallon Quincy. I'm not, or whatever brand I get. I'm thinking Quincy, because I've been thinking about that for a while, but I'm not sure yet. So this is a couple weeks old. The store told me just take it, use it. If I like it, fine, keep it. If I don't like it, just bring it back. They'll take it back. So that's where I'm at with that right now. But again, guys, that's just some of the stuff that I use. There's more stuff that I use, but it's not really necessary to see. I mean, you see the majority of stuff that I use. Of course, you know, the TIG rods, aluminum, stainless. I use 316, 304, 309. I use ER70S2, ER70S6, ER80SD2. That's a rod that I use that's really resistant to corrosion. So that will be better, like in Florida, salt water, that kind of thing. I use aluminum 4043. And if I want something that's going to need more strength, I'll use the aluminum 5356. I use silicon bronze if I'm doing some brazing. I mean, I use just a lot of different wires, and primarily on my MIG wire, I'll use ER70S6 for the most part. I'll use for stainless, I'll use 309 mostly, because I can either use 308 or 309. I use 309. I was using it primarily for dissimilar metals, stainless steel to core 10, stainless steel to mild steel if I'm doing some indoor piece. And I use 308 just every now and then. But even with, if I'm welding stainless to stainless, I'll still use 309 to do that for the most part. Sometimes I'll use 308, but it's not much of a difference when you're going stainless to stainless. But when you're going stainless to a dissimilar metal, 309 is the best. So I have all of that wire. I have some up there, or the TIG rods, and have some down there. I just bought those. So that's probably what I use, guys. And that's going to pretty much do it for this video. I know I had promised, that's been, I can't remember how many videos ago, that I was going to do kind of an equipment video, let you guys kind of see what I use. So I finally got around to it. We've been just so busy just making stuff for people. Selling reaching just multiple times, and flags, and making, you know, bases, and just all kinds of stuff. We have a guy that's going to drive those 2 sculptures to Florida for us, so we had to get those ready. He's making a enclosed box container for his trailer to put those in, so that as he's going to Florida, you know, if it's snowing and icing and whatever, debris is flying, nothing will be able to get to those sculptures because they'll be encased in a box. Then he's going to stay at a hotel overnight. He doesn't want somebody coming up and just being able to just you know, a group of guys who were picking these sculptures up, taking them out, doing whatever with them. So they'll be encased in a box, so no one will know what's inside of the box. So once he gets to Florida, we're going to be flying out to meet him there in the city. Then we're all going to have to take him out and put them wherever they're going to put them until they're ready to put them up in the city. So all that kind of stuff. So we just been just busy. But once you do this for a while and you don't quit, you just keep doing it, this stuff can just happen. And I still consider us on a small scale. We still haven't gone real big yet. We're getting there. But the little stuff that I do, like I've been saying before many times, the stuff that I've learned and am learning, I try to share with you guys so you don't have to go through what we go through to get to where we have gotten to. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this one. And I hope to see you on the next one. I'm not sure yet what I'll be doing. Maybe welding something together or something small. Because what's happening is we have a city not far from here that wants a large sculpture for that city. Not sure what sculpture they want, if it's one that we already make or if it's something that we're gonna, you know, put our heads together and come up with something. But I want to keep as much material here as I can, so when we start that project, I'll have some material here and I can at least get started. And if we have to order, you know, more sheets of stainless or core 10 or whatever, I can order that while I'm using the material that we already have here. I don't want to have to order everything and then be sitting around waiting for it to come. That's just a waste of time to me. So I'd rather use what we have here. So it just depends on what they want. If they want something that we already have, then that's no problem. Because I'm going to have to make another reaching, a couple reachings, I'll put a couple pictures up. Reaching is this one. And then the waves with balls. We sell a ton of those. Of course, flags, we got to make some more of those. So it would just depend. I have to try and make some bulk pieces because the season has kind of slowed down a little bit. And so I'm just trying to get some stuff made up so when the season starts in the spring, I won't be so far behind. But then we have some more commissions coming up. So I'm just kind of in the middle right now, just kind of waiting to see what I need to do, which direction I need to go in, you know, as far as material and that kind of thing. So I'll see what the next video is going to be about, but I'll be doing something. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. It went a little bit longer than I thought it was, but that's the way it happens sometimes. So I'll see you guys on the next one. And as usual, peace out.